क्लीं कैवल्य क्लीं कैवल्य क्लीं कैवल्य क्लीं कैवल्य
Namaste. Welcome to Kaivalya Yoga Gurukulam, KYG. Thank you for joining this class in Kaivalya Marga. We are continuing with the fire element. And in case you're wondering if this is a yoga class, to some extent it will be, because we are discussing the fire element and the kriyas, yogic kriyas that help to maintain the fire element. As always, all of these learnings and these classes are done in a manner of mindfulness, with reverence and humility, because we are tuning into the cosmic energy within us. And that cosmic energy brings us all together. So it is a spiritual learning, even though it might seem just like some physical exercises. And therefore, let us begin this class with 3 ohms, helps us to get into a state of mindful listening. All I want you is, if you have not had food and if you're ready, you can join me and try it out. Otherwise, just watch, learn, and then revisit this class if you want to practice. Let us begin with 3 ohms. Namaste. When we were in school, we had the science classes, theory and practicals. And for some reason, I always liked the practicals, because practicals would mean laboratory, playing with test tubes if it was a chemistry class, or biology, doing something. This was when I was in my 11th and 12th grade, so we did have a little bit of science. So in these Kaivalya Marga classes, sometimes we come to these what we call practical sessions, because it is not simply theory that we are learning. The idea is not to become philosophers, but in addition to learning, we are trying to implement that in our everyday life. We still have a couple of classes at least to finish with the fire element we had started, and we are coming back to this after a long break. I believe the last class was somewhere in April, beginning of April. Nevertheless, we are back on track. In the last class, if you remember, if not, I urge you to go back and revisit it. We started the fire element saying nourishing the Agni through yogic kriyas. Agni means fire. The fire is in the belly. This is the chakra, the Manipuraka chakra, the center part is where the warmth is. And from here, the warmth gets distributed everywhere. Now, this is not simply some yogic fantasy or yogic philosophy. Science is now beginning to understand in the last 2 decades. It's a very young science still, because science means that they do a lot of research and studies and collect data and so on and so forth. And what are they finding? That this, they call it the gut. The gut seems to have a brain of its own. There is a nervous system in the gut. And there is a direct connection between the gut and the brain. They call it the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve connects the gut and the brain. And there is a two-way communication. So it is not always that the brain is in charge of all the bodily functions. In fact, when it comes to mood disorders, when it comes to problems with addiction, pay attention here, it's amazing. Problems with addiction. Now you might say, I'm not addicted to alcohol or smoking, so I'm good. No, we are addicted to so many things, especially sugar and the kinds of food we eat. So there is always some addiction in all of us. Very few exceptions, of course, are there. So when we deal with addictions, when we deal with depressions, and most interestingly, when we deal with autism, for example, all of that, ADHD in kids, the hyperactive brain in the kids, all of that can be controlled through the gut, is what medical science is beginning to understand. But in the yogic science, in Tantra Vidya, in the older Vidyas, this was always given the prime importance. In fact, even in the Gita, Krishna says, Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva. I reside in the living beings as the digestive fire. So the cosmic energy is here. This is where we derive food, and then all that food gets distributed, the energy gets distributed. That is why we spend a considerable amount of classes, and I think we laid a foundation. Of course, that learning will go a lot. And I promise to revisit those things as far as food is concerned and so on. Because the importance of this gut is primordial. Without this, no philosophy, no spirituality, no quality in meditation, no peace of mind, equanimity, all of that will only be concepts. We cannot understand that without this. That is why think of this and put it in the context of sadhana, spiritual discipline, and all of that. All of that makes sense if we understand the importance of what is going on in what I would like to call the Agni element, the fire element in the belly. So in the last class, class 40, what we learned was asanas. Through asanas and kriyas, how do we nourish the Agni? We are nourishing Agni through food. We nourished Agni through mantras, through chanting. We learned that in the previous classes. And all of that are parts of an overall equation. You can't take just one thing and say, this is going to help me, I'm going to ignore the others. You cannot. That's not how I practice. That's not how I can't tell you to do that. So everything has a role to play. So we learn through mantra, we learn through food, we learned all of that. Now we come to asanas and kriyas. How do we nourish the Agni through kriyas? All right. So in the last class, we covered 3 asanas and called that the asana. I call it the asana and kriya because you can practice it as an asana and then the kriya is into it. So we did the Tadasana kriya, the mountain pose where heat entered through our feet. Fire element is connected to what? Feet and eyes. So there are 3 important portions here. This, of course, the belly is the most important. So you have fire. Heat comes in and goes out from our feet, the bottom of our feet. Then heat is nurtured here, collected here, and distributed from here. So this is an important part. We're going to visit that today. And then you have the eyes. We'll probably visit that in the next class. All of this, now we're going to talk from yogasanas and yogic kriyas point of view. Something all of us can practice. So in the last class, we did for nourishing Agni through the feet. What was that? Tadasana, standing on your 2 feet and doing kriya, drawing energy from the earth into the body. Then we did vrikshasana and kriya, standing on 1 foot and balancing, increasing heat in that 1 foot. So apart from toning muscles and all of that, the most important element that is going in is the gut becomes healthy through that. It's a whole different approach to gut healthy. It's not only about what do I eat to maintain healthy gut, right? An healthy abdomen or all of this that is going on here. All the bacteria, that colonies, that are, I believe more than 100 billion or 100 trillion bacteria cells here, bacterial cells. We are more of a bacterial colony than human beings. So we need that. We need that culture here, okay? So the Murugan energy, the son of Shiva, he is here. He is in charge of distributing that energy, keeping all the demons, all the bacteria in check, saying which one I need, and he does that. That is an energy by itself. So that we tackle through mantras. Then we learned the Virabhadrasana Kriya. So we did 3 Kriyas. All of them are drawing energy, fire rather, or warmth through the feet down into the belly. Okay, so that has its own importance. So don't think, can I only do this? Can I not do that? So now I'm approaching, coming straight to the belly. So that is one set. See 3 simple kriyas that we did. There are more kriyas, but we are just establishing basic practices. Then we come to the stomach region. So in stomach, we are going to activate the Agni in the stomach region through asanas first. All right. So today we are going to talk about this. The first one I'm going to show you is called the Marjari Kriya. Now for those of you who are taking my yoga classes every morning, or if they're all online, so you may find that we have done these classes, especially in the beginners yoga classes, we do that. And so it may not be very new to you. But for those of you who do not take the yoga classes, then it might be of good information, and this is something you can all practice. These practices that I'm going to show you today are ideally done when you're on an empty stomach. So don't do it immediately after food. Give at least 3 hours, 3.5 hours gap after a heavy meal. So before a meal in the evening, or ideally finish it off in the morning. Again, why do we prefer to do exercises in the morning? Because when you do exercises, especially these kind of asanas, yogic kriyas, and generally any form of exercise, heat develops, the fire develops. And that belly that receives this fire and sends messages to the brain, releases neurotransmitters from the gut. You get powerful neurotransmitters like serotonin, melatonin, and so on, dopamine and all of that. Everything that we think of for a happy mood, for a good, calm mood, and all of that we think of, we look for, it is all in the gut. So when we do exercises, they release that, in addition to food. But when we do exercises, they release it. So first thing in the morning, we equip the brain with all those neurotransmitters. Then when you get out to the day and you spend the day, when you're reading and you want to learn things, you want to be creative, you want to be alert, active, remember, and all of that, then those neurotransmitters help you function very well. And therefore, it is preferable that you do exercises in the morning. Now, it's different matter if you're working on shifts and your work doesn't allow and all of that. So we always compromise. I'm putting what is ideal. If you cannot do first thing in the morning, because first thing in the morning also there is no problem of food. You would have slept in the night, so you have at least 5, 6, 7 hours of gap between food. So it's easy to finish it off in the morning. If you cannot do these exercises in the morning, these kriyas in the morning, then and only then your second alternative is evening, around sunset. Just before dinner, you can do this, and then give about 10-15 minutes gap and have dinner. Okay? So these are the 2 ideal times. Now in between, whether you can or cannot, of course the answer is yes, as long as your stomach is empty, but the effectiveness of all of this, you will not see the effect when you don't do these, when you don't practice it in these 2 really good times, especially in the mornings. All right. So hopefully all that is set. So let us come to the kriyas. Marjari. Marjari means cat. Okay? So Marjari Kriya. Marjari Asana. Marjari Asana or Marjari Kriya. Most of this Marjari thing is always done as a Kriya. How do we do this? We go on all fours. Very simple, right? We go on all fours. Now, what is the distance between my knees? It's going to be hip width apart. Watch my knees. They are not too close. They are going to be hip width apart. Knees are hip width apart here. Okay? And then you place your palms. Now, where do you place your palms? Do you place your palms here or here or here? What is the technique? Pay attention. It's very simple. Once you understand the logic, you don't have to remember. Place your elbows against the knee. Place your palm on the ground. So that determines the length of your elbow, determines the distance between your palm and the knees. Palms will be placed parallel to the knees, shoulder width apart. Fingers will be spread out on the ground. So this is your starting position. Okay? The length determines the distance. This is how the cat is. Now what do? Have you seen an angry cat? The cat raises its fur and crouches like this, right? It hunches its back, raises as if it's a tall animal, pretending, right? It's an angry cat, so it does this. And then it arches as well. It's got a flexible spine. So this is the fundamental movement of the spine that you're going to do in this Kriya. Kriya means constant movement. I explained this in the last class as well. Kriya is constant movement. This constant movement creates the Agni, generates Agni in the body. Stomach will always be pulled in. In mild Uddiyana Bandha is always maintained here throughout the practice. So don't let your stomach fall loose. Keep it tight. Now, how it is done. I'm going to breathe in. And as I breathe out, I hunch my back, I crouch and look into the stomach. So what is happening here? The lungs are crushed because I have expelled all the air. And I've hunched my back, raising it as high as possible, looking into the stomach. And then I inhale. I arch my back. Arch my back. So one is rounding the back, one is arching the back. Arching the back is looking up, creating a curvature, a concavity in the back. Stomach is still pulled in. Don't let the stomach fall loose. You will notice my elbows are straight when I do this because I know when people do this, they start doing this. You don't have to bend your elbows. Elbows will be straight. Arch as much as you can. A mild arch is good. And then again you breathe out. Hunch the back. Breathe in. Arch the back. Breathe out. Hunch. Breathe in. Arch. Breathe out. Round the back. Breathe in. Watch my thighs here, they're perpendicular to the floor. They are not going back like this. I'm not moving back and forth. I'm not doing this. See, when I'm doing this, I'm not going back. I'm not coming forward. I'm not moving this body. Everything is straight, steady, fixed. All I'm doing is simply breathe out, breathe in. Common sense. When I look up, the lungs are stretched out, so I breathe in. When I look in, I squeeze the lungs, so I have to breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe out fully. Breathe in fully. Breathe out fully. Breathe in. Breathe out. And then you relax. You can sit in Vajrasana, or you can simply tuck your toes in and sit up like this for a little bit. And then again repeat the Kriya, if you can do this Kriya. So at any given time, you can do at least 10. At least 10. So when you breathe out, you're starting here, right? Neutral. You breathe in. And then you begin. Breathe out. Breathe in. That is 1. Again, breathe out. Breathe in. That will be 2. Breathe out. Breathe in. That will be 3. And thus, of course, not in this speed, but I'm just showing you. In this way, you can do at least 10, then relax. You can't go wrong in this. It's very simple. As you go along, you learn to perfect certain things. Do at least 10, then take a break, because sometimes, depending on your age and fitness, you might find your wrist hurting a little bit. So come off, maybe after 5 or 6. But try and at least do 10 so that you establish a rhythm, and that rhythm helps to connect the gut, or your stomach begins to talk to the brain, and that connection is established. So at least 10 is done. Take a break, do another 10, take a break. And like this, in sets of 10s, do 2 or 3 sets if you can. So this is a very good Kriya that you can practice in addition to Tadasana, Vrikshasana, and Virabhadrasana, for those of you who can do the ones I showed you in the last class. All these Kriyas may not be possible for all people. So if you can say, all right, out of this I can do 1, 2, and 3, the others, either I'm too old or I can't do it, that's fine, then stick to those 3. That's why I'm giving you a variety here. The second one is for those of us who are a little more fit, a little more adventurous maybe, and that is called the big cat. Now we were in the small cat, right? The small cat was hands like this, and here. The big cat. For the big cat, all I have to do is move slightly forward. So my palms are like this, just take this gap and move forward like that. That's all, just slightly forward. Big cat, like the tiger. In fact, this is called the tiger pose. Tiger is known as Vyaghra, Vyagrasana. Vyagrasana is a leaping tiger. So what we do here is I take the left leg out. I'm sorry, in this case I'll show you the right leg. Right leg out, that is my tail of the tiger. Toes are pointed out, I look up. See, my elbows are not bent, or everything is straight, proud tiger. Stomach is pulled in, stomach is steady. And then right leg out, left hand, stretched out like a paw. The tiger is leaping to strike, right? So this is a flying tiger. Breathing in and out with your stomach pulled in. Vyagrasana. This alone activates the Agni. Just staying here activates the Agni because you're engaging the core. And with a mild Uddiyana, the Agni is activated. Your whole body will feel warm. You come back. Then the other side. First, you can just simply do only one leg a little bit, like this. And then slowly raise, try and balance, come back. It'll come with practice. Now, if you have a block, then you can keep the block here and hold the block. Raise the block a little bit, get some balance. Otherwise, simply try this, stomach in. Again, watch my stomach, it's pulled in. Tall and straight. My neck is not into the shoulders. My elbows are not bent. It's a powerful tiger, flying. Breathing in and out. Hold it for at least 3 to 5 breaths, then come back. Then again repeat like this. Go here. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. That's 3. Like this you can do up till 5 and then come back. Keep repeating on each side. So at least do 2 or 3 sets on each side. Vyagrasana. So this is just Vyagrasana, holding the pose. There is a Vyagrasana Kriya. Again, this will be done as a second stage for those of you who can do this. Now you say, all right, I got it. I can hold it for 5 breaths. Now what? So let me show you. Now how do we do it as a Kriya? I'm here. I inhale. As I exhale, I'm going to crouch. I'm not touching the floor. Grabbing my leg, touching my nose to the knee. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Okay? And then come back. Then the other side. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. This is not very easy for everyone because you're not supposed to touch the floor. It really engages the core. And then go back. Inhale. Exhale. So you don't have to do this initially. For the first few months, just do this. And slowly you will learn. You will get the encouragement to move a little bit. Go as much as you can. Go back. Go as much as you can. Slowly, 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 you will learn. The more we eat well, and the more all of this goes in a little by little through food habits, especially through some exercises, then we'll be able to do the Vyagrasana Kriya as well. Once you're done, once again, sit in Vajrasana or this variation, breathing in and out. So Marjari Kriya, Vyagrasana Kriya. These are two, again, very beautiful, powerful exercises that engage the abdominal muscles. At this point, a thought crossed my mind as I do get emails where people say, how do I only reduce my belly fat? Can you show me some asanas for the belly? There is no such concept in exercise in general, and especially in yoga. There is no concept that do these asanas for this particular part of the body. Asanas affect the whole body. True, there is some effect like this one is predominantly here. But then you need strength in the arms. It's going to build strength in the arms and shoulders and everything. Especially when it comes to belly fat, reducing belly fat. Don't think that just because you're doing stomach exercises, you're going to reduce belly fat. You can reduce belly fat by just going for brisk walking, slightly uphill if you can, or on an incline on a treadmill, walking up and down will decrease your belly fat much, much faster, because it's the overall fat burning that you have to consider. Fat does not get burnt only in your belly. It doesn't work like that. So just FYI. All right. So Marjari Kriya, Vyagrasana Kriya. We did these two. Then comes a little more, I wouldn't necessarily call this advanced, but for some of us who have never done any exercise, this might be a little advanced. This is called Dandasana Kriya. Danda means staff, right? So Dandasana is simply shoulders over your wrist, the body is stiff like a staff, and the stomach is pulled in, okay? The stomach is, don't let your stomach fall out, because that will kill the purpose of the exercise. Stomach is pulled in, that activates the Uddiyana. Shoulders over your wrists, okay? So you're not doing this. Have a mirror or have your iPad in a selfie mode or something and watch yourself. This is not what I want you to do. Because the shoulder, look at the shoulder, it's not over my wrist. My butt is up. I want the whole body to be parallel. From the butt up to the shoulders, the body is parallel. Your torso is parallel to the floor. And you simply hold this pose. This itself will be difficult for many people to hold it for, let us say, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, so on. Dandasana. Okay? There is a variation for those of you who have stronger arms. If you're young and if you want to take this to the next level, you inhale, exhale, bend, and do this. Touch your knee to a knee. Go back. Watch my butt does not come up like this. Here. Go down again. Come up. Go down. Come up. Breathe out. Touch the knee to the elbow. Come back. Body is parallel. Go down. Body is parallel. Right? Dandasana. Once you do, take a break. Again, relax your wrists in case the wrists are hurting. So that the second variation of Dandasana is, again, not easy. The important thing is not how many I should do. The important thing is the integrity of the pose and the asana and the integrity of the kriya. So you can't just do like this. See, watch I've gone off the Dandasana. It's no longer Dandasana. It becomes dog pose. So Dandasana is what activates the Uddiyana, the Agni, right? And then you're going to do. So first, master Dandasana. Another variation of Dandasana is what is popularly called the plank pose. You can maintain the plank, hold this for 30 seconds, 1 minute. We do this in the Hanuman Yoga. We hold it for a minute. And then again, plank, 1. Crawl. This is called spider crawling. Go back. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. See, watch my body. My stomach is not gone up. The whole body is parallel. This is also Dandasana variation. Some schools call this Chaturanga Dandasana. Just holding this pose. It's become very popular these days. It's called a plank. Plank is Danda. So hundreds of years ago, the yogis, the rishis, they knew the importance of toning the body, maintaining health. So in addition to the yagnas early in the morning, yet in addition to the mantras, in addition to healthy lifestyle, in addition to being in tune with nature, they added all of this as well. It's not a matter of choice. It's not a matter of this or this. It's a matter of this and this and this and this and this. That's the holistic approach to not just health of the body. All the 5 koshas, Annamaya kosha, Pranamaya kosha, the body, the breath, Manomaya kosha, the mind, Vijnanamaya kosha, the intuition, and Anandamaya kosha, the bliss. All of these sheets have to be really healthy for us to truly experience expansion of consciousness. Otherwise, it remains a philosophy. It's a matter of belief. We really don't experience the abundance in our lives. Okay, so we have these, and there's one more. This one is not for everybody, again. It is for those of you, again, who are young, who are into exercise and fitness, and you want to take your own exercise to another level, then this asana, this kriya is a very beautiful kriya to shape and tone these muscles and also activate, more importantly, of course, to activate the Agni element and hold it in steady. All of these practices help in acidity and all of that, in addition to, of course, eating and sleeping well. The last one that I want to show you today is Vashishtasana Kriya. First, Vashishtasana by itself. Again, this is something we do as part of the Hanuman Yoga classes. But let me show it out there because it is part of the fire element. So shoulder over your wrist, sideways. We're going to stretch out. Full weight comes on one wrist. Watch my feet. I balance one foot on top of the other. My hip is not going down like this. It is up. And I stay like this. And the other hand is up. Stomach is pulled in and tight. I breathe in and out. Vashishtasana. Vashishta, dedicated to sage Vashishta, the guru of Sri Ram. So we think of him, his steady mind, and attain this pose, Vashishta. Okay, the same thing we do on the other side as well. Same thing. We lean, right wrist, shoulder over your wrist. So don't do this. Shoulder has to be over your wrist. Okay? Stretch out. Keep your body steady. Raise the other hand up. Vashishtasana. Now Kriya. You breathe out, go in. Breathe in, come up. Now you're balancing and moving. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. This requires tremendous control from the core. Exhale. Inhale. You can do 10 on each side if you can. Start with 3, make it 5, make it 7. Slowly, you will get the hang of it. Vashishtasana, Vashishtasana Kriya. Now Marjari Kriya, Vyagrasana, Vyagrasana Kriya, the tiger. Then we did Dandasana. Dandasana, 2 variations, one as a plank, one as a staff. And we did variations there. And the last one was Vashishtasana and the Vashishtasana Kriya. All these four, if you notice, are very different in the implications from the three that we learned in the last class. Tadasana, Vrikshasana, Virabhadrasana. Those were standing. So we generated heat from the feet. This, we are now nurturing that Agni here. This is nurturing, protecting, creating strength. When we develop belly, one simple reason is, of course, we have fat, visceral fat, the organs put on weight and fat, all that we'll discuss it in some other context as well. That is one side of the picture. But what happens is, where there should be fire, and this should be prana, when we discuss prana, after a couple of classes, we'll come to the air element. What happens to the prana which is supposed to be here? Prana is here and it's supposed to move up. Prana begins to move down. And so the Vayu which is supposed to be here, Vayu comes down and feeds into the Agni. And that, imagine if you have fire and then there is wind, then the fire becomes uncontrollable. Either the fire is put off, if it is a weak fire, then you fall sick and God forbid, life comes to an end. When the fire is too much, the fire might get put off if the fire is weak. But what if the fire is, if you are young and healthy, in other words, the fire is burning, but then this air starts slipping down, then this fire creates a lot of problems. And those are the problems that we experience, the metabolic disorders like type 2 diabetes. So this fire going down means the belly also begins to become big. It becomes fat. It becomes fat. It is a very different way to look at the same thing that science is looking at today. A very different approach to understand the body and connection with the fire element. So if we want to approach the healthy fire, because Krishna said, I am the healthy fire, I am the digestive fire, aham vaishvanaro bhutva. To me, that is such a powerful prayer. And in Baba's ashram, we would do that before every meal to remind us that this food that I'm eating is going to become the digestive fire. Today, science is saying, oh yes, you know what? What you eat becomes bacteria, forms a nice gut, and that information is sent to the brain, and it helps you think. So food is now getting connected to the way you think. What I eat is what I become. What I eat is what I become. Why? Because what I eat is what I think is what I become. So that is how important this place is. So we talked about the food from that point of view, but food is only one part of the equation. An important part, nevertheless, one part of the equation. The other part is exercise. Exercise in the form of these kriyas that begin to activate the Agni in the body. Any form of exercise will generate heat because you have to be on your feet to do those exercises. So walking, running, skipping, jumping, even swimming will help. But I am showing you these exercises of yogasanas and kriyas where the wear and tear on the body is minimal. All of these do not really create wear and tear in your muscles, do not create too much joint pains. But if you learn it systematically and slowly, it will maintain the Agni in the body. And as long as this Agni is burning brilliant, steady, there will be health, there will be clarity in perception and sight and so on. Everything most beautiful that we ever want is gifted by this element. That is why, and I'll end with this, in the 5 elements, Agni stands in the middle. You have earth, water, fire, air, and space. So when you're taking a group picture, the person in the middle is the VIP, right? You want the most important person in the middle. You want your little 5-year-old to stand in the middle, not in some corner. You want your children to be right in the middle and everybody else surrounding them. If that child's birthday, you want him or her behind the birthday cake and everybody is behind, and you take the group picture. The one in the middle is important. So that was the body language, that was the message, the importance of message of fire. And imagine in this body, the language is this. This is the most important thing. element. So you have earth and water, fire in the middle, because fire will transform the earth and water from below and move it up. Only fire can transform. Otherwise, earth and water are gravity oriented. They pull our consciousness down. They create weight. That's why we gain weight here, right? We talked about this in the earth element and the water element. Excess water pulls the prana down. That's what is happening. Our prana is shifting down because of excess weight. So fire alone will burn that, bring the electricity out of water. So we talked about sun salutations, which is a water kriya. But that water creates heat, electricity, and Agni pulls it up. Same thing with the hip opening exercises and asanas and so on. So the Agni burns the water, pulls the earth element, and transforms it into energy that can move upwards. And when the energy starts moving upwards, it begins to get reflected in your body. It's just as simple as that. It is straightforward, black and white. You cannot cheat in this path, because in yoga, your body is a reflection of your mind. Your mind is a reflection of the spirit. So the body, in other words, is the reflection of everything that's going on inside. That is why you have these great masters who will see your body and tell you exactly what your state of your mind is. When I would sit in front of Baba, I've told this in many other occasions, even if I would move slightly, he will frown and look at me. And sometimes you have to sit in front of him for 3 hours, 4 hours before he comes and when he's talking to you and after. And so your feet are cramped and your back is hurting and you're dying to do a twist like so. Others would do, he would allow them because their path was perhaps different. But when I would even move, he would just look at me and frown, saying, hey, what happened to you? Why are you moving? And so for me, those subtle messages were very important, because he would recognize that there is something in my mind that is reflecting in the body, and I learned it that way. And therefore, through the body, especially now we are talking of the fire element, through the fire element, through a healthy gut, I can recreate the bacteria. I can recreate the flora and fauna, if you will. These living organisms here create a healthy gut, so they begin to release the neurotransmitters that I want for my creativity, for developing talent, for improving my meditations and all of this. Then they in turn go and impact the brain, and from the brain then the pineal gland and all of that once again, they don't become calcified, they become active. And then what happens is when you sit for meditation, it's like a switch, you get transported to another dimension. There is no effort. At times, most of the times, it all depends on what we eat, what exercise we do, how we take care of this portion of the body. My dear brothers and sisters, if body is a temple, this becomes an important part of the temple. This is where the yagnas in the temple are performed. This is your yagna kundam, if you will, the place where offerings are done. This is that, where the fire is always lit. Like in Shirdi Baba's temple in Shirdi, he kept a fire burning. And there is a temple in the Himalayas where Shiva and Parvati got married thousands of years ago, and the fire is still burning. So the belief is they never let the fire go out. Generations have passed, and they keep that fire burning. This is that fire. This is the fire in our body. This is the fire. So please let's pay attention to this. Let's begin to respect this portion of our body. Let's never take it for granted. And through understanding these, slowly let's take baby steps in enhancing our lives and our spiritual lives especially. So, thank you for watching. I know I have not completed the whole hour, but that's fine. I think I've given you enough food for thought. And some of you may want to go back and just make some notes how to do these exercises and try 1 or 2 of them and slowly incorporate. And if you wish to really bring yoga asanas as a practice, every Wednesday morning we do classes. There is a whole KYG beginners yoga playlist. I have 65 classes already on that. Even if you do 2 classes a week, you have practice, and each class you can repeat it twice, thrice before going to the next one. Very slow paced. It teaches us all these bandhas and kriyas in a very holistic manner. And everything is free and available for you. Thank you all for your patience. Thank you for joining this class. In the next class, we will progress to the eyes. How do I maintain? Because eye is related to Agni. I can see where there is light, where there is heat. So how can I, through my eyes, bring and nurture the Agni element in my body? So there are kriyas for the eyes, and we'll talk about that in detail. Hopefully you found this class helpful. Let us end this class with one Om and three Shantis. May all the beings in all the worlds be happy. Om.